What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Starting off in local news, Taiwan's defense ministry says evacuation drills will not be part of the nation's largest military exercises this summer. Local newspapers reported that the United States pressured the military to practice evacuating foreign nationals from Taiwan. The report said the drill will be part of the annual Hangguang exercise. A military spokesperson says those reports are untrue.
报载其他国家可能采取的行动方案并不符演练的科目内涵，相关内容并非事实。
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has honored a Taiwanese soldier who was killed while fighting for the Ukrainian army. Zelenskyy awarded Chen Sengguang Ukraine's Order of Courage for his selfless performance in defending the country's sovereignty. Chen, who was from Taiwan's indigenous Amis group, died in battle in Ukraine last November. He was the first volunteer from East Asia to be killed in action during the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Chen had previously served in Taiwan's army from 2017 to 2021. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. met with his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden at the White House on Monday. At the meeting, Biden had this to say about U.S. commitments to the Southeast Asian nation.
The United States also remains ironclad in our commitment to the defense of the Philippines, including the South China Sea, and we're going to continue to support the Philippines' military modernization goals.
Marcos's four-day visit to the U.S. comes shortly after the two countries wrapped up their largest ever joint military exercises. The U.S. and the Philippines have stepped up security cooperation in recent years, with the U.S. providing support aircraft and ships to boost Philippine security in the South China Sea. The U.S. has been working to shore up alliances in the Asia-Pacific as it vies with China for influence in the region. Clashes between police and protesters turned violent at May Day demonstrations across France. In Paris, over 100,000 people took part in union-led protests against the French government. Some demonstrators threw Molotov cocktails, fireworks, and other objects. Police fired tear gas and water cannons into the crowds to try and control the situation. Outside of Paris, violence erupted in Lyon and Nantes. At least 100 police officers were injured and almost 300 people were detained across France. Protests have been taking place in the country since January, after President Emmanuel Macron said that he would raise the country's retirement age by 2 years. That bill was passed into law last month. Back in Taiwan, the southern city of Tainan is trying to bring more visitors to one of its historic sites. But preservation laws mean that there's only so much it can do. As John Van Trieste reports, officials are putting their hopes in tech to expand the site's appeal.
It's a nationally listed historic site, a spot with 100 years of history that changed the way people lived. But while it's open to the public, there's no line to get in. This is the old waterworks in the southern city of Tainan. Built in 1912, it's more than just a piece of disused infrastructure. It's an important part of Taiwan's story. The site represents the island's 50 years under Japanese colonial rule and its journey into the modern age. There are stories to be told here, and Tainan's government hopes more people will come to hear them. And to do this job, it's turning to augmented reality. Local officials have installed 25 QR codes for visitors to scan, so they can see how the site looked in its prime and how the machinery worked. The site's caretakers are hopeful these codes will bring in more sightseers.
有名的烟囱基座呢，我们也是透过那个文资处他们的资料考究，来还原出原本12层楼高的烟囱的样子。透过这一次的 AR， 我们也可以看到快滤桶它原本是怎么运作的，自在的透过有趣的小互动或者是简单的介绍来理解水稻博物馆究竟在做些什么。
So far, the reaction from visitors has been positive.
感觉很棒啊，就是可以看到以前看不到的一些建筑物的样貌，然后可以多了解一些这些建筑物的一些功能啊或设施。
The hope is to engage the public, so this piece of Taiwan's heritage can get a wider appreciation. Devin Tsai and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
To find out how virtual reality can help boost tourism, John Van Trieste spoke to Taiwan-based tourism consultant Michael McCreesh.
So lately there's been a trend of local governments putting in augmented reality or virtual reality at these historical sites to try and bring in more people. Do you think that that's a viable solution?
I think it's one component of a variety of different tactics that governments need to use. to increase and improve engagement at these sites, and then improve, obviously, visitation to them. So age is an issue. So, well, that 20 to 40-year-old is a little bit more digital native, and they have the ability to kind of just intuitively work through some of those problems. Those of an older generation don't have that same kind of insight, and so it can be a little bit challenging for some older demographics.
And you've just said that it's only a component, this VR, of revitalizing these spaces. What are the other components that you can see making a big difference?
I would say some of the other components are bringing in local community members to be able to tell stories, participatory like workshops. So maybe the visitors or the domestic, members of the region or the town or the country can come in and kind of participate in some of the more hands-on experiences relating to that historic site.
And what about making different use of historic sites? For instance, using the spaces to put on exhibits related to the site so that people have an opportunity to really get an idea of what they're looking at.
Absolutely. I mean, that's to that same point about maybe there's an opportunity to create a structure around local artists who want to provide their own interpretation of this site. So it might be a variety of different mediums that artists can come in and it's like a studio space where people can see these artists working on projects that reflect some sort of or have some sort of association to the cultural significance of these places.
That was John Van Trieste speaking to tourism consultant Michael McCreesh. Taiwan has unveiled its first domestically developed underwater AI drone. And as Leslie Lau reports, it looks set to go where humans can't.
Open water is tricky for people to navigate. Visibility is limited, the range is immense, and the human body gets tired. But those problems don't pose as much difficulty for machines. That was the thought process behind the invention of this new underwater drone.
这些限制呢，透过这个水下无人载具都可以去克服。
A team at National Sun Yat-sen University developed the drone. It's controlled by artificial intelligence and is the first of its kind fully built and developed in Taiwan. The machine's loaded with sensors and can reach depths of up to 1,000 meters. There's plenty of applications for this technology. It can help with everything from conservation to defense.
像说在那个大范围的这个海床的地形的测绘啊，然后呢，这个海床的海底的这一个生物啊、生态的这个调查。
The drone's onboard AI is sophisticated enough to discern between different objects, including sediment, plastic, and even people.
看到潜水员，标示出潜水员在影像中标出潜水员的那个的位置。
For now, the drone will undergo testing in the waters off of southern Taiwan. In the future, though, who knows? These drones could patrol the country's seas while the rest of us get some much-deserved sleep. Andy Xue and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Labor Ministry has amended a law to ensure that workers who miscarry during their first trimester receive their full attendance bonus. Employees who miscarry during this period often take sick leave instead of paternity leave. Employers can then subtract that from the worker's end-of-year attendance bonus. Under the revised law, these employees will still be entitled to the full bonus. Employers who violate the rule could be fined over $32,000 US. The amendment will take effect on Wednesday. Agricultural authorities are proposing amendments to Taiwan's Animal Protection Act. Leslie Liao looks at what those changes entail.
Goldfish and rabbits, common prizes at night market game stalls. But newly proposed animal rights rules may soon make that illegal. It's just one of the changes that could be made to Taiwan's Animal Protection Act. Proposed amendments would prevent people from trading or gifting animals for entertainment purposes.
把那个动物当作是赠品或者是那个摸彩品作为那个交易这个部分已经是诟病很久那这次在修法当中也有被提我们觉得这是一个非常好的一个突破的地方。
Another proposed change would grant authorities the power to enter an animal owner's home to conduct welfare checks. Officials would also be able to take custody of animals for safety purposes. Activists also hope the revisions can raise penalties for animal abuse.
提高虐杀动物刑度以及抢救动物及时强制的这几个法条， 我们希望至少在这一届就能够过关。
Taiwan's Animal Protection Act has been amended 15 times since it was introduced in 1998. Currently, it has 40 articles, but authorities want to raise that to 68. All of this so animals who can't stand up for themselves get a bit more protection. Leon Lien and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
A research team in Taiwan has found that rivers in urban areas have higher levels of microplastic pollution than rural ones. They've linked this contamination to population density. Our reporter Sandy Chi has the story.
Casting a net in one of Taiwan's many rivers. But these men aren't out fishing. They're collecting some samples of water to check for a kind of pollution that's grabbed headlines in recent years: microplastics. For the first time, researchers are looking into the presence of microplastics in rivers throughout the country. Microplastics are plastic fragments or man-made fibers that are less than 5 millimeters long. They mainly come from daily use products, roads, manufacturing, and the breaking down of larger objects. The Taiwan research team has been inspecting water samples collected at rural and urban locations along the Danshui River near Taipei. Other samples are taken from the Wu River in central Taiwan in 2021. The results show an obvious difference in the level of plastics found in different locations, with highly populated and industrial areas most impacted by these tiny particles.
Find that the highest concentrations are in the city center and the urban areas, and that's why we think now that the rivers here in Taiwan probably all polluted with microplastic due to human activities.
Microplastics are so pervasive in the environment. It's been found that humans ingest up to 5 grams of the pollutants weekly. They've been detected in other animals as well.
But it has also been found already that humans eat microplastic, so it's kind of in our daily life. It's in food like seafood or in salt, but it's also in the air like fibers.
Researchers are urging Taiwan's government to set standards and methods to monitor microplastics in the country's water bodies. It's hoped that with stricter regulations, Taiwan can help reduce the harm caused by microplastic pollution. Isan Pan and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's waters are teeming with all sorts of coral species, and it's currently their spawning season. But how coral spawn is still very much a mystery. To understand this better, researchers are studying the conditions necessary for them to reproduce. As if responding to some unspoken signal, coral begin to spawn in the waters off southern Taiwan. Somehow, without any way to communicate, the coral release gametes all at the same time. Scientists don't know the mechanism, but they can predict roughly when it'll happen.
Usually, they spawn from 5 nights to 8 nights after full moon in April, May, June in Green Island.
The current theory? Scientists think the synchronized spawning has a lot to do with differences in light levels with the full moon and the dark period that follows. Scientists are now seeing if they can recreate these conditions artificially. But light may not be the only factor. Researchers think microorganisms that live in the coral could also play a major role. The waters around Taiwan are home to about a third of the world's coral species. While this research project won't show results for another 5 years, scientists hope that their findings will help shed some light on the mysteries of the local coral's reproduction. French street artist Jordan Saget painted a work outside the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall in Taipei's Liberty Square this weekend. Members of the public looked on as Saget created the work in chalk and paint. The intricate curved white pattern showed off his signature 3-line style. The Paris-based artist has produced over 2,000 pieces around the French capital. He said his creation at Liberty Square is a gift to the people of Taipei. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out this artistic creation in a rice field in central Taiwan's Miaoli County. I'm Eric Gao. Take care and see you next time.